Hello, I'm Christy from Flip City Magazine and the wildly popular YouTube show Creative Chaos. And I am here with fine artist and now comic book creator, Doc Blalock. What's up, Doc?
What's going on? Yeah, I've never ever heard that one before.
Yeah, I said what's up, Doc, and then realized I sounded like Bugs Bunny.
Happens
Um,
happens all the time.
yeah, so we've known each other, gosh, I don't know, about a year.
About a year now. Yeah,
And so I know a little bit of your history, and we've decided to kind of interview each other so we can clip them up and use them for promotional tools because everybody knows you cannot stop promoting when you're doing independent stuff.
absolutely not. And short form content is just the thing.
We're playing to short attention span theater. We must compete. So, Doc, why don't we start at the beginning? Why don't you tell whoever happens to be watching this a little bit more about yourself? Where were you born? Who are your parents? What kind of trauma did they cause you?
Because you got to be traumatized if you're making comic books, art, anything. There must be trauma. But I don't have a Van Gogh story. I haven't lopped off an ear or anything. No, I was born during the Johnson administration. I missed Kennedy by a year, so I've been around for a minute. I am the son of a pair of educators. My father had a master's degree in education administration. So he was a teacher, a coach, a principal, a headmaster. And this was before, for a large part of this was before um, the National Department of Education. So it was very competitive, and it was always him pursuing the next better contract year by year. So we literally moved all over the Southeast. Every year was a new place. Like that was normal to me. And mom was an educator too, so she would teach or she would work in clerical or administration at whatever school dad was working at. And so yeah, that was kind of life growing up. Just every year you had to make new friends and whatever. And I remember, by the way, the earliest arting I ever did, I saw an art teacher drawing a human eyeball, and I thought, hey, that looks really cool. So I went to my desk and I drew it, and it was photorealistic. And the art teacher flipped out of his mind. He was like, how did you do that? I said, I just looked at what you did. And I think I was 10 years old. So whatever grade that is. And so then I think I started drawing woodland scenes. I learned how trees grow and they're forking, and I just started drawing it. And my parents were like, huh, what do you know? He's not useless after all.
No, did you have any siblings?
I did. I have two older sisters and one younger brother.
And did any of them get into any of the arts?
Not a damn one of them. Uh, it was weird. My oldest sister was a Barbie doll, and so she played that up. She was the blonde, good looking, and whatever. And then the next sister, she was pretty also, but she was mousy and loved books. And then my younger brother was the jock. He wanted to play all the sports. He went into powerlifting and bodybuilding and all that stuff.
Now, when you were growing up, besides doing art, did you also get into sports, or were you like always kind of the artistic child?
I didn't play in any organized sports, but like we would play neighborhood football or whatever. I was into it as much as my brother was. I just had no interest in playing for a team, organized sports, none of that stuff. And my dad was like, I can only afford to pay for one of y'all to do this. Take him; he's useless otherwise.
Right. And well, so that's kind of your early life, but then you joined the Navy, hence your hat. Why? And that doesn't seem typical when you're not from a military family. That does not happen that often. Kind of
Right.
seems like military runs in families.
Well, let's see, I joined the Navy when I was 17. The last 3 years of my teen years before that, my dad was hooked on opiates, and life was pretty miserable. Now he hid it really well. I mean, he could go to work in a three-piece suit and look professional, but then come home and stagger around the house and be blasted out of his brain. So it was pretty miserable. And I remember wanting to get out of there desperately. Excuse me.
Well, and how original back in the day when everybody was alcoholics and that was fine. He
Hmm.
chose to be different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had grown up as an athlete himself. And back in his day, the team doctor just handed out narcotics like they were Pez. And so he got hooked at an early age. And of course, addiction gets worse over time. And so by the time I was in my late teens, it was really bad. But I remember um, I was bored with school. I was uh, head over heels in love with a young lady. We ended up getting married, and I needed to make a way for us and get away from the home. And I thought, hey, I'll go join the army.
Oh,
So I went to the army recruiter, and while I was sitting in his lobby, he yelled at me. He was on the phone. He said, "You just sit right there. I'll be with you in a minute." And I went,
uh-huh.
"Oh, I'll be damned. I know I'm going to get yelled at in boot camp, but you're supposed to be courting my ass right now." So I said, "F all this. I'll go get a job working in a cotton mill." And I got up, and walked out, and I'm walking down the sidewalk, and a chief in his dress white uniform was standing there from the Navy, holding a beer in one hand and a slice of pizza in the other. Excuse me.
Okay, that is the life. You know, if you want to get a teenager to join, look hot while enjoying pizza and beer.
Yeah. And he said, "Hey, boy, what you want with the army?" And before I could even tell him anything, 'cause I didn't have a clue what to say, he said, "Come on in here. Let me talk to you about the Navy." Now, here's a clue. I not only didn't know how to swim, I was terrified of the water.
Really?
Terrified. And I was scared of heights. So I joined the Navy to jump out of helicopters into the water.
Now, is that part of basic training that you have to do that in with the Navy?
The water part, yes.
Okay.
I later went on and did a TAD, temporary assignment of duty, to do some SAR stuff. But yeah, so the very first thing you have to do with my fear of flying and fear of heights and fear of water is get on an airplane and fly all the way from the East Coast out to San Diego, California, terrified the whole way. Land, get off, poof, you're in the Navy. And the whole time I'm in, I'm none of it's hard. I'm like, if you just keep your wits about you and do exactly what you're told, you do fine. And I did. As a matter of fact, I made RCPO, Recruit Chief Petty Officer. I was the head recruit in charge, and which was horrible, by the way, but
Why?
because everybody hates you.
Okay. Because
Um,
now, do they hate you because you're supposed to be at their level, but you're bossing them?
exactly
Okay.
right. Um,
Okay.
Unlike the Marine Corps, where there's a drill instructor with you everywhere and at all times, Navy boot camp wasn't like that. Our company commander, who's kind of like a drill instructor, he was there, but not all the time. So, like, wherever we needed to go, I had to line us up and march us to get us there. And I had to organize us and blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of stuff you had to do. And that required you ordering your fellow recruits around, and they did not like that. And I didn't like it either. But what are we going to do?
Right.
Somebody's got to do it. So, anyway, I dreaded the whole time, I dreaded the swim thing. And there's actually a little cartoon video about it on my YouTube channel. Uh, we show up to the first swim qual, and I'm like, this is where it all ends. I'm going to die in this pool. And they won't have to worry about hating me as RCPO anymore because they'll fire me because I'm dead. So I go into this gigantic pool. It's the biggest body of water that's not an ocean I've ever seen in my life. And off. in the seems like the horizon, the distance, there's this huge platform, and up top is a U.S. Navy SEAL. And I didn't know he was a SEAL at the time, but he goes, "Arr!" And he just falls off the platform, hits the water, and springs up right in front of us. We're all lined up on the edge of the pool. Scared the hell out of me. And he said, I mean, he came up talking. The very first thing you need to understand is it is impossible for you to drown in my pool. And I went, that's good to know.
Okay.
That's some information right there that I needed to hear. And he said, if you can't swim, go to that end of my pool and you're going to learn in about 5 minutes. The rest of you are going to line up. You're going to jump off this platform. You're going to do this, that, and the other. I was like, this is where I'm going to die. And so he takes us, not just him, several instructors. They take you to the shallow end and they teach you to drown proof, lay back, float, whatever. I tried laying back and floating. I kept sinking
Okay.
and I kept standing back up because I was in the shallow end. And I remember telling one of the petty officers, one of the swim instructors, yeah, see, this is not working for me. I'm sinking. And he goes, it's all right. You won't sink when it matters. Flash forward to
Okay.
us having this interview, and obviously he was right. So my time came. I'm up on this platform, 5,000 feet in the air, or it seemed like. And he said, step off with your left foot and let gravity take charge. And there's two of us at a time going. The little guy next to me goes, hee. And I went, heh. But I could not make myself jump. So he yells up at me, get off my tower or I will erase you. I don't know what being erased meant, but it sounded worse than drowning. So I
Okay.
jumped. And I do remember, honey, my new wife, I'm doing this for you. And Lord, I trust you to get me through this. And I jumped, and some things happened. First of all, I hit the bottom with my feet, just like they said I would. And I kicked off, just like they said I would. And when I got to the surface and immediately wanted to go into panic mode, the dude was right there. And he goes, open your eyes. I open my eyes. He goes, lean back. I lean back, and I'm floating. And he went, amazing. After that, I could swim.
Very nice. Now, when was the last time you've been swimming?
Oh, probably a couple of years. And then only at a pool. We went over to a friend's house and swam in the pool. I mean, I can swim like a fish. I don't have the lung capacity to do it anymore, but I can swim. As a matter of fact, when I was stationed on Paris Island, I did the water physical therapy for recruits that had sustained injuries to their knees, ankles, whatever. Uh, and I think my record was I is it treaded or tread? I tread water for over an hour without realizing I had done so.
What, until the next day and you're super sore?
No, as I'm out there doing it, one of the instructors leans over and he goes, hey, Doc, why don't you take a break? You've been in there an hour. I was like, instantly, I almost drowned. I was like, oh, shit. So, yeah, I loved being in the Navy. And I was, mm, my fear in boot camp was they're going to put me on a ship. Now, I know that seems odd. You go in the Navy and you don't want to go on a ship. It's not that I want to go on a ship. It's that your first 60 days aboard a ship, the first 30 days of that, you do deck division. That's chip and paint and painting and doing all the grunt work. Deck ape work is what they call it. And then the other 30 days is working in the galley, in the mess hall,
Okay.
washing dishes and whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So while we're in boot camp, there's a detailer there, and he's telling us what our first 60 days are going to be like. He said, now, if you're a hospital corpsman, raise your hand. And I raised my hand. He goes, yeah, except you guys, you don't have to do that. And I went, thank you very much.
So, was it just by luck that you were a hospital corpsman?
No, I
Did
chose it.
they? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I chose it as my contract when I went in.
Okay.
I wanted to work in medicine because I wanted something I could continue to be in when I got out. And
Makes sense.
yeah, and I enjoyed it, but not at first, because at first you're doing an internship that makes you wish you were scrubbing out pots and pans in a galley. You're doing inpatient care on like a hospice ward where everybody's dying and they're
Oh.
gross, and you're in there emptying bedpans, and they just, oh my god, I'm hating every minute of this. But I ended up working with the Marines the whole time I was in instead of the Blue Water Navy. So that meant wearing camo and going out in the field and crawling in the mud and playing games with the Marines, and I loved it.
Now, if you were taken back to like enlisting, do you think you would have chosen to be a Marine instead?
No, I really liked being a doc. The nickname has stuck all these years. And the reason it stuck, by the way, when I got out of the Navy, my very first boss was a retired Marine. And he found out I was a corpsman, so he called me Doc, and it just stuck.
You've been Doc longer than you were your original name. I don't even know if you want to say what your real name is.
Christopher. Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have literally been called Doc by more people for a longer period of time than I've been called by my legitimate name. One of my exes, one, never called me by my name. She always called me Doc.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
I'm sure you were married as Christopher, though.
Yes, it's not on any legal document that I'm Doc, unless it's a wanted poster with an alias that I don't know about.
Now, something that I've heard about like artists in the military, like you become like the guy people go to,
Oh hell yeah!
for tattoos or
I
whatever.
designed hundreds of tattoos. I did caricatures of the whole chain of command to make people laugh. I designed unit insignia for units that existed and departments and whatever. And yeah, so I I, I should say this. I was in the military, I was in medicine, I was in mental health. But regardless of what I was doing as a career, I was always making art all the way along the way. I could draw very, very well. I could paint very, very well. I could write. I could play music. I could do all these things. I never stopped doing any of that. I just kept right on doing it the whole time.
Right. I mean, seems like those things are your passion. But that's the thing about you, Doc. You don't seem at first glance like an artsy fartsy type, but you absolutely are.
I Okay. I'll take the artsy, maybe not the fartsy. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not a
you,
foo foo kind of guy.
yeah. Well, until you look at your landscapes and everything, they're so vibrant and beautiful.
What? Jeez. That's only because nature is beautiful, and
That is true.
I paint what I see. Yeah. So that was the Navy. I did a 4x8, 4 years active, 4 years reserves, and then I went into medicine and stayed in medicine, working in trauma centers and ERs, and was getting tired of watching people die. So I went to school for mental health and got my education and became a counselor.
So, as far as travel with the military, did you ever go overseas or were you always in the United States?
Mostly stateside. I did 2 TAD floats. TAD means temporary assignment to duty. So on one occasion while I was on the West Coast, a corpsman had a family emergency, had to get pulled off of his ship, and I had the right credentials, so they flew me out, and I rode the ship in to San Diego. Flash forward, I go back to the East Coast, and then I think it was in '86. Almost the exact same thing happened with another ship. Would I? And they asked. They didn't even order me to go. Would you mind doing this? You get a little more money or whatever. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll go do it. But you're not part of the crew. You're just cargo. You know,
Okay.
uh, they had Marines embarked, and I was there to take care of the Marines. I wasn't part of the crew.
Yeah. Military is absolutely a culture of its own. We've been on streams together where military people come on, and I just have to STF you, because I'm like, I have nothing to add, and you guys are all talking in code. And
It's weird that there remains a universal language across the generations that have served. Our good friend and co-host Tanner Hurley, he was a post 9/11 Army Sergeant First Class. I know guys that were Cold War with me. I know Desert Storm people, but we all still speak the same language for the most part. So yeah, we have a good time, and we universally give each other crap because that's just what you do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that I think that in itself is even American culture. Like, we are the biggest ball busters on the planet,
Absolutely.
and it really does mean you fucking love people. It's not a mean thing.
Yeah.
Being in this space of ours of like independently publishing, we meet people from all over the world. And
Yes.
I was talking to somebody. Oh, I think he's from Norway, and that was something he said. It's like, I will never understand you Americans and how you're so mean to each other, to your friends. And I'm like, no, no, it means that you love them.
That's
Like,
right. That's
you're
right.
really nice to people that you're just acquaintances with.
Exactly. You're you are far more polite to your enemies than you are to your friends and
Yes.
family. Holy cow, we just rip into each other. But yeah, I mean, I think Australians are right there behind us, though. They're right there with us. They bust
Okay.
they bust each other's chops pretty hard too.
Well, that's good to know. I don't think I knew that about Australians, but you know what? They turn out some pretty hot men,
I
those
wouldn't know.
Aussies.
I wouldn't know.
From a feminine perspective. I didn't need your feedback on that. All right. Well, so you were in the military. You did a 4x4. Let's get in to after you're out, you become a counselor, and you've
Not-
told me that you've counseled some memes out there.
well, I didn't immediately go into counseling. I was working in trauma medicine for quite a few years, and to pay my way mostly through college to get the education and become a counselor. So, yeah, as a counselor, I specialized in mood disorders, situational stuff. I'm going through a divorce, my kids are being rebellious, whatever. But then also addiction treatment uh, or substance abuse. Every different agency calls it something different. And yeah, I hit a streak there for about 2 years where one pseudo celebrity fell into my clutches, and then word kind of got out that I was effective and discreet. So I kind of became a micro. What's the word I'm looking for here? A little hub for some celebrities, athletes, actors, musicians. I'm never going to call names. Excuse me. But I have worn a World Series ring. I've worn a Super Bowl ring.
Nice.
I could have held a Grammy Award and I could have held an Oscar Award, but I did not.
Wow. Okay. So, addiction counselor to the stars.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
um, all right. Well, I know you're a painter. You've kind of more recently got into comics and everything. Do you want to look at some of your paintings and talk about
Yeah, but
your landscape
I
painting?
was I was originally a painter, and then in the '90s I got into doing comics, and then I got away from comics again, which is a whole different story. I was injured and I was unable to work for about 2 years. Excuse me, and I was going stir crazy. It's like, well, maybe I could do something with my art. So I remembered that I loved comic books, and so I started just sending out submissions to not just the big two back then, but to some of the smaller press. And I got hired to do some comic books in the '90s. But yeah, painting has kind of been my go to for quite a while.
Yeah, and even to the point you've told me the story. I think I've heard it a few different times that you had a rather popular chat and live painting thing going on through Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. We used to do live paints every Saturday on Facebook and have hundreds of people tuning in or watching. And it was fun, but my camera was complete crap. My microphone was crap. So there's crappity crap, crap, crap.
Yeah, your camera still needs an upgrade.
I know I'm doing the best I can. We're lucky I have a good microphone.
Yes, that has finally happened. Well, why don't we look at some of
Sure,
your fine art?
sure. So, i- an interesting story on this. Obviously, every fine art enthusiast is going to recognize this. Can we blow it up a little bit? It's a replica. It's called doing a study when you're learning. I'd painted before, but I wanted to be an impressionist painter. So I waited until everyone went to bed and I ran to the store and I bought some art supplies. And I wanted to replicate this Monet painting. Everyone calls it Lady with Parasol. The actual title is Study of Figure Outdoors Facing Left. And so I painted it and it didn't suck. So I went, hey, would you look at that? I can paint like Monet.
It's beautiful.
So I did. And then I immediately after that, I went out on my own and started painting.
Oh, so this was your first piece?
This is my first impressionist piece. Yes. I had done like some flower paintings and, bullshit before this, but this was where I began to refine my style. Let me, I don't want to make a liar out of anybody that might have been there. I literally copied probably 50, 60, 70 paintings by Monet and Renoir to get their brush technique down before I started painting on my own. And I just gave all those paintings away.
Okay. Now, you had you ever before you started painting, had you taken any classes in painting, or
No,
are you pretty much all self-taught?
yes and no. My high school art teacher was amazing. He did not teach me to paint or to draw. He taught me to art.
Okay.
And that is to say, how to see like an artist, how to compose like an artist, how to think like an artist. And so everything I ever do still goes back to what he taught me. But as far as the actual putting brush on canvas, yeah, I'm self taught.
All right. Do you have something else to show us here? Because
Sweetly.
I know you love doing landscapes.
I do. I am a plein air landscape painter. So we'll just go through some. They're in no particular order. This is a huge one. This is 30 by 50, I think. And this is my friend Krisha's backyard. She had this wonderful oak tree back there.
I'm going to make this a little bit smaller for shorts later so people can see the
Okay.
entire thing. There we go.
This is another big one. This one is 36 by 48, I think. Pardon me.
Now, is that a real place? Is
Yes,
this okay?
all of these are real places.
I'd
So
really love to be in that garden.
that first one was my friend Krisha's backyard. This is my dear friend Kim's backyard before she tore all this out to put in a pool and a pool house. Yeah, I
No.
said, before you do that, let me paint it. So I went out and painted it. This one is a local fishing hole that everyone goes to at the Heads Creek Reservoir. And the light was just beautiful that morning. So I really wanted to paint it.
Now, do you have like an average amount of time it takes you to do one of these paintings, or does it all vary? Because you're talking, you're talking about, you know, being there and actually painting it live doesn't sound like you're using photo reference or anything like that.
Right.
So, is it just a morning
You
of
paint
painting?
very fast.
Uh huh.
And typically the light will stay the same for you for about 45 minutes. So what you do is you pick a leaf on a tree and you say, when that leaf changes, I'm done. And if you're not finished with the painting, you come back at the same time the next day and hope the light is the same. But this one was done in 45 minutes.
Wow.
And it's a 16 by 20. And then there's this. This was actually my backyard. and the light was just perfect. And it's early autumn, so I went out there and oh, I just remembered. I was supposed to go on a painting trip with someone, and they couldn't make it, and all my stuff was already there, ready to go. So I just went out in the backyard and painted.
Oh, nice. Looks like a comfy backyard, plenty of shade.
Uh huh.
Oh, who does? Do you have a favorite season?
Oh, spring, absolutely springtime.
Okay. Autumn's beautiful too, though.
It can be. So this is at Slade Pond. My friends Hunt and Amanda Slade that own the finest coffee shop in the United States,
Mhm.
Safe House Coffee Roasters. I have an open invitation to come plant on their paint on their property anytime I want, and so I do go out there and I paint. And this was again about 10 o'clock in the morning, that golden hour, 9:30, 10. And this one took maybe 3 hours total. Now, all the light and all the structure was blocked in that first 40 minutes. But to get in there and do all these leaves on the ground, yeah, that was studio work. Because
Okay.
that was endless hours and hours of dab, 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 dab. And then we've got this was just I was just feeling it that day. Like we're just going to do a big stormy coast.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
see. I
that's
think,
quite innate frame. Is that a real frame?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Ornate frame. I said innate.
yeah.
Anyway.
Here's, here's every artist's trick. And if you don't know this trick and you're an aspiring artist, hear what I'm about to say to you. Go to thrift stores and buy framed, ugly art that other people have and kick their art out of it and frame your own. You can get you can get several $100s worth of frames for $1.
Yeah. That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, and it works too. I think this one had a mirror in it, and I'm like, screw that. And then this one's all out of focus, but this was a sunrise on Paris Island.
Is the actual image out of focus, or you painted it out of focus?
No, the image is just out of focus.
Okay.
I'm a terrible photographer. Terrible photographer. This was out.
Ooh.
This was out at our family farm uh, on a particular morning when the sun. It's probably about 8:30 in the morning, and I'm actually standing on the back deck painting, and it just looked. The light looked like it was liquid and like it was in motion. So I'm like, I've got to paint this. So
Yeah, that's really beautiful. That's stunning.
thank you. This was a commission, and this one is from a photograph. So someone that lives out near your neck of the woods up in Utah in the mountains sent this photo to me and asked me to paint it, and so I did. And I'm not really big on winter scenes, but this one was fun to paint.
Yeah, those clouds are something else.
I love painting clouds more than anything.
um, Now, hey, how do you feel about Bob Ross and his happy little trees?
Oh, Bob Ross, God bless him. He's a good guy, or was a good guy. And that's all I've got to say about that.
All right. Ooh.
And this was a little forest path that literally I was out driving through the country looking for something to paint. And the site that I went to, I couldn't get to because the road was closed. So on the detour coming home, I saw this. And this, I should say, in my truck, I always carry my painting supplies, everything I need. So I just pulled over and I stand in the bed of the truck and I just painted this scene. And I love this one. The light
It's
was
beautiful.
amazing. Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. Now, this is I ain't gonna lie, I wanted to show off a little bit because I can paint some clouds.
Yeah.
So this is from my home down in the Low Country, Beaufort, South Carolina, on Bay Street, and it was just one of those bright, hazy mornings where the horizon just gets lost in the mist as it's burning off.
It's so funny that that is absolutely the first thought I had when you brought this up was there's not really a horizon.
That's right, yeah, lost horizon paintings, and yeah, I mean, I love painting clouds.
Yeah. Well, you have a story about painting clouds that I've heard a couple times.
Yeah, 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 and I think that's on the next photo. We'll bring that up. Yeah, this one. So, Stuart Davis, if you're out there listening, my friend, I'm the guy. Stuart does these amazing large skyscapes, and he is a tonalist uh, with a little bit of impressionist in him. And he does these big dynamic skies, and the landscapes are small, they're not the important part. And someone on a live stream asked him, "Can you do that with acrylic?" And he said, "No." So I said, "Hold my beer." And I did it with acrylic, and I sent it to him. And I said, "This is acrylic." So now he answers, "I can't do it with acrylic, but some people can."
Do you always use acrylic?
I do now. I started in oil, but the wonderful thing about acrylic is how fast the paint dries,
Hmm.
and the terrible thing about acrylic is how fast the paint dries.
Right. But I mean, my assumption is you'd be able to just kind of build up the paint.
Sure, absolutely
Yeah.
you can. And I paint fast enough to where it's still a wet on wet technique, so it's very much like oil painting. And then this one is from I forget the name of the island. It's one of the Georgia barrier islands. I think it's St. Simon's Island. It was a commission. And then this one is of the South River. I just really, really like this painting, and I hate that
Yeah.
it's sold. I wish I would have just held on to it.
Well, on that note, as far as like the paintings that you have and you've sold, um, do you, when you hang on to paintings or just have them, sitting around waiting to be sold, um, are they like on the walls of your house or stacked up somewhere?
They are on the walls of my house, my friends' houses, the art school that I teach at, um, because I run out of wall space.
Yeah.
So my favorite
This
place
one
to
seems like
store
a
art,
keeper though.
yeah, my favorite place to store art is your walls, ladies and gentlemen. Hit
I
me up.
wish I wish I lived closer because I'd totally store your art on my walls.
And I think, oh, this was a commission also. My friend Bart is a photographer, and this is at the main intersection of town, and the structure on the left is the First Baptist Church. Big old thing, takes up 2 or 3 city blocks. But he took this photo and he said, "Could you paint it?" And I said, "Yeah, I can." So I did.
I feel like everybody on the planet has seen this type of scene. Just one of those
Yeah,
gorgeous
yeah,
sunsets that take up the entire sky when
yep,
you're just somewhere
yes.
with trees in a building.
And you know what? They're great when you're somewhere where you can enjoy it. But if you're driving, you're staring into that sun, going, "Oh my eyes! Lord help me not to wreck into those big black shapes, whatever they are."
I've got to tell you, just because it popped in my head from the oh my eyes,
Yeah.
the craziest sunrise I ever saw was driving on, it's a straight highway into Las Vegas.
Uh
And,
huh.
we had left before the sunrise, me and my daughter, because we're going to visit my dad in Utah. We're on that straight highway, and the sunrise is right on the highway. It was the one of the most psychedelic things I've ever experienced. It because the new sun is in our eyes right on the black highway, and it's just like purple, orange, red, purple, orange, red, like to the point of like my daughter, saying, "Mom, are you able to see?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can see enough to where if a car got in the way, I wouldn't hit it, but this is trippy." She's like, "Are we gonna pull over?" I'm like, "No, dude, this is amazing."
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them like that. I love sunrise far more than sunset, but sunset's cool too. And then I love golden hour, which is from like 8 o'clock till about 10:30, when the light is just amazing outside.
It is so fun to be a photographer too at
Uh
the
huh.
golden hour. People look so beautiful.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's it. Yep. That's all of those. Now there are literally hundreds of more paintings that I've done and more around, but that's all I have photos of.
Yeah, too bad. Too bad you're a terrible photographer.
I am a terrible photographer. I suck at it.
How I know you're trying to sell a couple paintings right now. Have you been able to sell yet?
Sold one of them. The fishing hole sold. The big oak tree in Creech's backyard was underbid by somebody, but it didn't meet the reserve, so it did not sell.
How do you
If you
sell
want to
them?
buy it, reach out.
Is it usually by DM or do you post it somewhere for people
I'll
to
post
bid?
them on Twitter and Facebook and say, DM me for the price or bid. Give me your bid. And I have sold a lot of art that way, tons. But then when the world ended in 2020, I couldn't give a painting away, which leads me to why I came back to comics.
Yeah. Can we give our comics away?
No, no, cannot give comics away because I have never worked so hard for so little in my whole life. My wife said to me, she said, I raised, I think, about 25, 26 to $2,800 on my first comic book campaign. And it took months of drawing and writing and then the publishing and then the crowdfunding. And she said, you do know that you have sold a painting in a day for $5,000, right? I'm like, shut up. I know that.
Now, now, are you passionate about the comic book creation thing? Or are you having fun with it?
I am passionate about storytelling. So, yes. Yeah. I love telling good stories. I love telling intense stories. Uh, yeah, absolutely.
Now, I know you've heard it before. Is print dead?
Is print dead? I don't think so. I don't think so. Not until my generation is dead and gone will print be dead
Yeah.
because we still there's a lot of us and we still have money and we still like to buy physical things that we can pick up and look at.
Do you have any now? Do you have any faith that the younger generations might rediscover the joy of smelling ink and feeling paper?
I do because I mean, look at them. These younger kids today. All of a sudden, they're going, "Yeah, I bought some vinyl," meaning an album, and they're all into collecting the vinyls. So yeah, if they're buying old albums and they're discovering Aerosmith and Kansas and Boston and Foreigner and Journey uh, and Zeppelin. Hey, more power to them.
It's also the joy of the actual album art and the liner notes
Yes,
and everything like that. It's not just, the album
it's
itself.
the whole experience. Yeah. So I equate that to buying an original comic book versus maybe getting the digital. When you buy the comic book, you can hold it in your hand, you can feel the cover, you can turn the pages. So yeah, I think there's a lot of life left in print. Yes.
Okay, well, since we're now on the topic of comic books, you had mentioned you were doing it for other people in the 90s, but self-publishing is a newer
Yes.
thing for you. How
Yes.
did how did you come to that crazy conclusion that you needed to do this? Get things
Uh,
out in paper.
all right. So like a lot of people in indie comics, I stumbled across Ethan Van Sciver's channel one day, and I'm like, who is this guy? And then I remembered he started in comics the same time I did, and I hadn't heard a peep out of him since then because I didn't follow comics. And next thing I know, he's a big deal. So I was watching his show one night, and I super chatted him, and I think I said, I wish there were a comics gate for fine artists because I got canceled. And I did. There is a whole story behind that. And he took the time, by the way, to bring up my fine art website and look at it. And he oohed and awed along with Billy Tucci and Artie Bear.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he said, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Come do comic books with us. And I went, I know how to do comics. So I did.
Nice.
Yeah, imagine my disappointment when I didn't make six figures.
Right. So what year was that in? Your first release?
Uh, Either 22 or 23, I think.
Okay.
It was Pariah Blood and Mud, and I honestly, you can't hold me to a date. I don't remember. My publisher is Anthony Romano, Dark Gift Comics. Hell of a good guy, and he's really good at what he does. And he made it a very easy experience for me. All I had to do is make art. He handled the campaign, building the campaign page, the fulfillment, all of it. I didn't have to do any of that, and I'm thankful for that.
How'd you two even cross paths?
I think it was on a mutual friend's stream, and I was lamenting that I know how to make a book, but I don't know how to do all that other stuff. And he said, "Hit me up," and we talked backstage, and I went, "Okay, sounds good."
Well, it seems to me that he puts in a bit of sweat equity trying to get people like you that don't know where to start and don't want to learn an entire new skill set to be able to put a campaign together and market it and
Right.
everything. He's
Now,
built
now,
his own
mind you,
little
though,
business.
he gets a nice cut of my substantial earnings, so he gets 10% of nothing, which is
But he
what I
still
make.
does it. He
Yeah,
still does it,
he does.
and that's a stand-up guy.
Yeah, he is.
Somebody that when a campaign's not performing, he's still gonna, stick to his end of the bargain because he talks about, yours and everybody else that he publishes work plenty on
Yeah,
streams,
yeah,
and he streams a lot himself.
yeah. He wants to get heavier into publishing. Anthony's problem is Anthony's into too many things. He wants to do his music. He wants to be a luthier and start building guitars and streaming that, and be a publisher and do his own books. I'm like, dude, you need to take some medication for that ADD. Pick
I was
one,
just gonna say, sounds a little like undiagnosed ADD.
right? So just pick something, brother.
Well, yeah, if he
Hard
really
to.
threw all his time into publishing, I think he'd do rather well because he's good at networking and is an affable fellow.
He's very affable. Yes, very approachable fellow. Very nice guy. Look, I got nothing but good things to say about Anthony Romano. Love you, bro. So
Well, something we haven't touched on, and I might be backtracking a little bit here, and we can talk more about the comic book, but about you're playing music.
yeah,
I don't hear you talk about that very often, but I know you did.
yeah, I
Like,
did, and I don't anymore, and haven't in many years. But yeah, I was young, I was skinny, I had long hair, and I played in an '80s metal band, and we were very good. And then I growed up and got fat and bald and don't do it no more. But I taught my son how to play, and he was young and skinny and had long hair, and he was a shred guitar player. And then he got old and fat and bald, but he can still shred and still does.
okay. Well, I think what you do now, because I see it all the time, is you just make a cover band and you
Uh-huh.
wear a freaking wig.
No, not doing that. Um, Unlike my friend Anthony Romano, I kind of picked one to focus on, and I only focus on one at a time. So, like when I'm painting, I don't do anything but painting. When I'm writing, I only write. When I'm drawing, I only draw, because I have a variety of talents, but not a very deep talent pool to draw from. So I have to put all of it into whatever I'm doing at that particular moment. Yeah, I mean, like I also sculpt, and I'm pretty good at it. Just haven't done it in forever.
What's your favorite
Favorite what?
of all those different pools of talents that you have? Is there one that you enjoy the
Oh,
most?
actually, it's writing. I love writing.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. So we'll get back to your self-publishing and everything. From what I recall, you started with your novella, and then you turned that property into the comic books.
Okay, the damn dirty thing, Jake Bishop stuff came about. Um, I wrote the whole pariah story out, and this is the story of Elizabeth Payne, who is a young witch who has a we'll just call it an "I spit on your grave" type experience. Um, and them fellers didn't know she were a witch, and she come back and do some really bad stuff to them. And I and as I was writing it, I wrote in a character that was a detective trying to figure out who is killing all these Russian mobsters. And that character became Jake Bishop. And the more I wrote him, the more I liked him, and the more I wanted him to have his own story. So the first story that came out was Pariah Blood and Mud. And then before I did the next Pariah book, which I'm working on now, and it's called Sanctum of Hate, uh, I said, you know what? Let's get old Jake Bishop 2 feet on the ground running. So I wrote a script for A Damn Dirty Thing. And, writing the script's easy. So as I was done with the script and penciling the thing, I started writing the novella at the same time because he just needed more room to breathe. The story needed more. So I wrote the novella, and then we launched them both on the same campaign.
Okay, so Pariah Mud and Blood was a comic,
Yes.
and that's where Jake Bishop shows up, and then you love him.
Not yet. Not yet. He'll be
Oh,
in the next Pariah book.
okay.
So that's why I wanted him to have his own little story before the next Pariah book comes out.
Now, and that is written in a noir format. Your novella, A
Mhm.
Damn Dirty Thing, was Pariah Mud and Blood like also a noir comic book? 'Cause I'd never seen that one.
It's noir-ish. Like you can tell by the cars and what people are wearing that there's some kind of weird influence of the 40s here. Even though she's running around at some point in a mini skirt and a crop top, but she's working at a titty bar, so why wouldn't she? But you see the other guys are kind of wearing period appropriate clothing. The cars are from the 40s, and that was a subconscious thing, and then it blossomed into, okay, fine. So the world that they live in, both Elizabeth Payne and Jake Bishop, is Solomon City, a fictitious city where Baltimore is, and or close by, it's a mid-Atlantic city. And I decided in that world, the aesthetics of the 1940s never went away because it didn't need to. It wasn't broke, it didn't need fixing. Men knew how to dress, women were beautiful, but they have all of our technology. So there's, instead of computers, there's data types. Instead of the World Wide Web, they have the electrosphere, and they just they just have all of our tech, but they dress way cooler.
Yeah, well, and also there's magic in your world as well.
Absolutely.
What made you want to do that? Because like you as a personality type don't seem to me, somebody that wants to delve into the whole magic woo woo type of stuff, but you're writing it. Do
Yeah.
Is it because it's just more interesting
Well,
than plain old
for
life?
it started with the pariah thing. So I had just finished reading, and by the way, it's, even though more people know I Spit on Your Grave than what I'm about to reference, uh, it wasn't I Spit on Your Grave that inspired the idea for Pariah. It was Tom Clancy's book, Without Remorse. So I had just read it, and in that story, a U.S. Navy SEAL, someone very close to him that he loved, uh, kind of got a very bad treatment at the hand of drug dealers, and he goes on the warpath. And I remember thinking to myself, that had to be a horror show for those drug dealers to have a SEAL hunting them night after night. I mean, I would be afraid to leave my home because he did some horrible things to these people.
Hmm.
So I made the comment to myself, you would have to be supernatural to be scarier than a U.S. Navy SEAL hunting these thugs. And I went, interesting idea. And so that gave rise to Elizabeth's story. And then for Jake, it's simply I needed someone to be able to match her. So she's a witch. He's a ditch wizard, which is kind of like a wizard, but less so. so that he can at least hold his own and not get killed by her the moment they meet.
Okay, is ditch wizard actually a term that's out there, or did you make that up?
I made it up.
Okay, it's kind of cute.
What he calls himself. Um, he calls himself a ditch wizard because he's had no formal training and he wouldn't know where to get it if such a thing was available. Magic exists in this world, and there are three different schools of magic. There are witches, there are wizards, and there are shaman or voodoo practitioners, and that includes druids and whatever. Uh, Witches draw their power from their own bloodline; it's inherited. Wizards draw their power from something called the elsewhere. They can't describe it to you. They just know it's there, and they have the ability to tap into it, to pull power, shape it, and use it. And then the voodoo shaman, they draw their power from objects, chicken bones, rocks, stumps, whatever. And they're the least powerful, but they can do some really weird stuff with it. So
Interesting. So, well, how prolific is magic in your world? Is it like everybody knows and or
everyone knows it exists, but it's if you think everyone knows talented musicians, and there's thousands of them. But when you think on the level of an Eddie Van Halen, a Beethoven, a Steve Vai, that it's that kind of rare.
okay.
So not everybody you meet can do it. So you're not gonna like if you saw someone doing magic in that world, you'd be like, "Ooh, neat," but you wouldn't go, "What the hell?" That's the
Okay.
best way I know to describe it.
All right. That makes sense, especially with Hank Hill popping in there for a sec.
Damn it, Bobby, put that wizard wand down. You're not gonna be a shaking that thing around this house.
So as far as like writing magical entities and all that into your book, did you do a lot of research, or is this all just kind of
Nope,
coming from
no research, none,
okay.
zero. Um, it's a soft magic system in that I'm not going to define it like it's a D&D rule book. Uh, Jake is just very practical as an investigator. Excuse me. He doesn't use. Let me start over. He's not out there investigating magical things that are happening in magic world. He's a normal private investigator investigating normal shit like your partner is stealing from you, your wife's cheating on you. He does that kind of stuff. He just happens to have some abilities. Some of those are like he can shadow step, and that's a little bit like teleporting, but it's also includes he can phase through a wall, if he needs to. Uh, he
Yeah, and
can,
well, and he uses his magic in his investigation,
yeah,
you know.
if he can use it, he will. He has the ability to make things not work. So like he can gesture. If you pull a gun, he'll just wave his hand, and your gun will just disintegrate into its components, not dust. It'll just fall apart in your hand. He can grab a doorknob that's locked, and it'll just fail, and he can open the door. Um, that kind of thing. So he can ward, but he can't protect with a ward. And by that, I mean, after his first office got blown up out from under him, he put a ward on his new office so nobody can come in there and tamper with anything without him knowing about it. It won't prevent him from doing it, but he'll be aware of it.
Useful.
Yeah, he says, you only got to blow me out of a 4-story window one good time for me to learn a lesson.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, because your campaign, has it closed or is it
No,
closing
it's
very,
still
very soon?
open. A Damn Dirty Thing is still open on storefront. And this is the comic book, I think, is $7. The novella is only $9. And there are only 15 of the novellas left. And that's all there's ever going to be of that version. And that version has, I think, 11 original illustrations in it by myself, John Dillard, uh, Stephen B., Levi Skeen, several
Christian
artists.
Staffel.
Did Zaf do one too?
I think he did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I recognized his name in there.
Yeah, several of the people I know contributed to it, and I'm deeply grateful for that. But the good news is, and bad news, I got picked up by Edgeweaver Books. They want to publish the Jake Bishop novel. but it will not have those illustrations in it, and it will be a more edited version of the story. So the one that's available over on Fund My Comic right now for $9. Once those are gone, they're gone, because now I'm under exclusive contract with Edgeweaver Books.
Yeah. So what's the plan with Edgeweaver?
Oh, the plan is I take a lot of Xanax and Mylanta, and they are legit publishers. They're a young publishing company, but they've got a fire in their belly. So what happens is they will put a lot of advertising weight behind it. It'll be available through Barnes and Noble and Amazon. Uh, uh, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going?
Well, let's see. You've popped some Xanax. You know where your book's gonna be.
Yeah. So right now they're on the final line by line edit. So it's been through 3 edits, uh, and now the final edit is by the editor in chief. Her name is Marie. Marie is doing the final edit, and we will confer over that if any changes need to be made, and then it goes to print, and then they do a media blitz. So I will be on podcasts and uh, slathered all over social media, and probably want to die a little death inside.
That'll be fun to watch.
Oh my!
Mister I hate promoting over there promoting.
I hate shit. I don't hate promoting my friends. I hate shilling myself. I hate it.
Oh, you'll be fine. I mean, a lot of these things they just want to talk to you.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
I need to go watch some of the interviews that Marie has done so I can figure out what to expect. But the cover for the Edgeweaver book. Wait a minute.
Now, see, while you're finding that, um, see that makes me a little bit jealous that you have somebody booking for you because that's one of the hardest things. Okay, here we go.
Yes, it is. So this is the cover. Yay! Where's the little kids going? Yay!
It's not in this studio.
Oh, damn it! So this is the cover for a Damn Dirty Thing, as rendered by John Dillard, based on the cover I did. And of course, he draws better than I do, so he did a better job of it. And we changed a few of the elements around, and all of the covers of all of the Jake Bishop books will look like this. The next one is already written, and it's called Blood on the No, yeah, that one's called Blood on the Bricks, and I'm working on the third book now that's called Justice or something like it.
Is this just kind of like an open ended? You're gonna write and write and write and write
Till
type
I
of thing.
die. Till I die. I'm going to ride the
Okay.
Jake Bishop files till I die.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your first novella.
Thank
Because admittedly I don't read a ton. And I went on vacation and I read it while on vacation and I was happy that I
Yeah.
did. Um
Yes, interesting because I wrote that as a novella. And then when I was signed with Edgeweaver, I was working on the next book and I was talking to the publisher. And I said, yeah, this one will probably be a novel. He goes, kind of prefer them to be novellas. I'm like, really? It makes my life easier.
yeah.
And he said, yeah. So kind of the verbal tentative plan we have is over the next several months, we'll release the 3 novellas. And then after they've run their cycle, we'll do a collected works of the Jake Bishop files, and then the next 3, and then the next 3, and then the next 3 until I keel over.
Very nice. Well, do you think it's an easier sell for novellas versus novels? I have no idea.
According to Jim, yes, because the price point's lower, it's an easier read.
Yeah. Um how great would that be if they can get you on shelves in airports? Cuz that's totally the type of book people would buy at an
Yeah,
airport
it's a one
for a
flight book.
yes,
You
depending
know,
on where you're flying.
yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're flying from Raleigh, North Carolina to DC, not so much, but uh, I call it a 3 pooper Three good poops in the potty, and you're done with it. Just leave it in the bathroom. Uh, and then somebody said, "Your poops must take a really long time." I'm
I think that was me.
like, "Oh, well, there you go."
uh, and super duper congratulations on picking up the publisher. How did that even happen? I don't know if I know that story.
I was shopping for an agent to represent me, two publishers, and I discovered something. It's just as hard to get a damn agent as it is to get a publisher. So I went and I asked ChatGPT. I said, "Please list reputable publishers who do not require an agent." And Edgeweaver was on the list. There was like five or six of them, and I submitted to all of them. Three or four of them hit me back that they were interested. Edgeweaver looked the most interesting to me and the most reputable, so I went with them.
Very good. And from what I've heard from you, is they've been pretty much a pleasure to
Super
work
cool,
with.
super cool group of people. The publisher himself is a writer, so he knows the ordeal of being a writer. Excuse me, and of having to deal with the whole process. And Marie, who is the editor in chief, has been a delight to work with. So it's been very pleasant.
And it's still a newer thing for you. I know that, and I just hope it stays that way and you build, because that's the thing. These are relationship building,
Yes,
so I hope you just build the best relationship with these people
yes. I'm
full of
like,
trust and love.
please don't hate me. I'm a nice
I
person, I promise.
I feel like it's hard to hate you, you know. I can't imagine
Ooh.
anybody hating you.
Wow, I've got a long line of exes that would disagree with you.
You said we weren't going to talk about that.
No, we're not going to talk about that. No detail.
Oh, and on that note, you married your high school sweetheart.
It took a long time to get there, but yes, yes,
I think that is pretty sweet
yeah.
that you guys reconnected.
She's a jewel, and the book is dedicated to her. She's my everything. So yeah,
It probably happened the way that it had to happen,
it did.
where it probably wouldn't have worked out with you two if you got married so young,
Yeah, if we'd have jumped right in after high school, she'd be one of the long list of women that hate me.
right?
But
You
I
know,
grew up and calmed down and became a much better person.
well, and that I think we can close it out with this. So you've lived a life,
I
to
have.
say the least. Um, as far as you growing up and becoming a good person, were you a shit in your previous life, or have you just kind of matured into yourself more?
I like to think I've always been a fairly nice person, fairly good person. However, I was very capable of being an asshole when I was younger, but never unprompted. I was never spontaneously mean to anyone. They had to go there with me first. But I was prone to a little bit of overreaction.
Okay, have you ever gotten into a fist fight?
I plead the fifth on that.
No, you cannot.
I may have, but I have no memory of it, Senator.
Okay. I'll take that. I have a friend that loves telling me about every fist fight he's been in. And
I
I'm like, okay, because he's older now, you
Yeah,
know.
I don't look. I'm not proud of any of that stuff. I did not enjoy any of it. But I kind of had a rule: you're not gonna whoop my ass. That ain't gonna happen. I don't know what you thought was gonna happen here, buddy, but I promise you, it's gonna be very different from how you thought.
Well, and also in your long line of crazy exes, have you ever had one that tried to get you into fights to
Oh
defend their honor or,
no, no.
well,
But
that's good.
I will tell you the one weird thing that happened. I had an ex. We were divorced, and I was a single fella, and I just started dating another young lady. And I got off work one evening, and my ex-wife was sitting in my car, and she's all dolled up. And I said, "What in the hell are you doing here?" She goes, "You're taking me out for dinner." I said, "Well, no, in the realm of things that are going to happen, that does not exist. Get out of my car." Well, I had to call Popo to get her out of my car. And then she did it again the next night. So the
What?
police had to warn her, if you do it again, we're going to lock you up for stalking. So yeah,
Wow, that kind of gave me goosebumps.
it was,
Did
it was,
okay. So, yeah, creepy at the time, but do you kind of like it now?
no,
Okay.
no. In fairness, though, I'm going to say this just carte blanche. Out of all the exes, of all the loves I have lost, I only don't like two of them. The rest of them I get along with.
That's good.
Yeah, they have kind of a fan club. They get together once a year,
No, they don't.
talk shit about me.
Uh, well, Doc, this has been an enlightening interview. I've known most of what you said, but I learned something new.
I'm sorry for that.
Now, now we can close it out with no bells and whistles except for this. We're gonna say bye with a magical twinkle. Okay.
Wow, I got the sad trombone.
Yep, and that's how we're
Oh,
ending it.